Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the bread of life. But first of all, I'm going to tell you a story about this man. When he was a teen, he was a car fanatic. He loved fast cars, best of all. He had an older cousin who had just purchased a new turbocharged Porsche 911, whatever that is, but it's pretty fancy. One day, his older cousin came to visit his home, and he handed him the keys. He was admiring the smell of his dream car while his cousin was visiting with his father. Suddenly, his cousin was standing right in front of him with the keys to the car and telling him to take a drive. Whoa, he couldn't believe it. He had just acquired his driver's license a few months before. As he sat down in the driver's seat, he realized money was no object in the design of this car. Even the smallest detail had been tended to with meticulous care. From the shape and size of the gas pedal to the color of the knobs on the radio, nothing was left to chance. On the outside, the doors and fenders were aligned perfectly. Every aspect of the powerful engine was made with the craftsmanship of a fine Swiss watch. As he turned the ignition key, it came to life with a throaty roar. The moment had come for him to take the car for a drive. He backed out into the street and cautiously drove away. The engine hummed, and when he pushed the accelerator to the floor, the engine roared and he was pushed back into the soft leather seats of the car. The car was everything he had ever wanted and more. After a few miles, he noticed that the gas tank was nearly empty, so he started looking for a gas station and pulled into the first one he came to. Quickly looking into the owner's manual, he noted that the manufacturer recommended premium fuel for this high compression engine. But he didn't really have much money with him, so he decided to get regular instead. And then he checked. He said, whether it's regular or premium, it all looks and smells the same, so I'll put in regular. When he checked the engine oil, like I said, he was short on money. He added a little water. That's a bit crazy, we all agree, yet it represents something that we do, but not with our cars. We do it with our bodies. Our bodies are far more beautiful and intricately made than the finest machine that was ever made by human beings. Like a fine sports car, our body runs more efficiently than on good food than throwing processed junk into it. So what we're going to talk about is the food we need to eat to keep our bodies working well. First of all, a balanced diet was chosen from the best foods. When chosen from the best foods, will provide the essential nutrients needed for growth, maintenance, and energy of our bodies. If we choose low-quality food like processed food, and let me ask you, do you ever bother to look at the ingredients on some of the boxes you buy or cans? When 1/3 of one side of the box is spent putting down the list of ingredients, you know it's really, really processed, and you're not getting nearly as many nutrients as you would if you had a natural food. But if we eat the right foods, enough of the best foods, the body machinery will do well. But if we don't choose the best foods, it's our body that will suffer. Too much food will, and most probably, result in obesity, and excessive or inadequate amounts of food will lead to not enough nutrients. So we have to be balanced in our choices. The good news that most of us have access to good, healthy food, and in each meal we can enjoy a variety of nutrient-dense, whole grain breads and cereals, along with rich and colorful fruits and vegetables containing abundant amounts of vitamins, minerals, dietary fibers, and phytochemicals, which are protective chemicals for our bodies. We can enjoy essential fats in crunchy nuts and seeds. You know, my grandmother wrote a few cooking books, and she said, God created watermelon to be big, so you can have bigger slices. But nuts and seeds are small. You only need 1 handful or 2 a day. So that's something to remember. Bone-building calcium we can find from low-fat milk or a fortified milk substitute, where you can find those all over now. Healthful proteins come from satisfying legumes, which are beans, peas, and lentils, and there are many, many varieties of all of those. And when seasoned with herbs and small amounts of salt and sometimes a little sugar and vegetable oil, it makes them very, very tasty. And not even all vegetables and fruits need that, especially fruits. These energizing, oh wow, look at that. These energizing bodybuilding foods consumed daily in appropriate quantities can reduce, get this, they can reduce the risk of cancer, of coronary heart disease, of hypertension, of intestinal disease, obesity, and osteoporosis. In fact, it's hard to think of anything about our bodies that can't be to some degree helped by a good diet. Let's go back to Genesis, to the creation of our world. The Bible tells us that God planned everything about our creation. That includes food. Nothing was left to chance. God knew what our bodies needed, and He provided it for all of us. Listen to what God said on the 6th day of creation. So God created man in His own image. In the image of man, God created him. Male and female, He created them. This is from Genesis 1:27. Then God speaks to them about what they will eat. And God said in Genesis 1:29-30, "See, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food, also to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth in which there is life. I have given every green herb for food," and it was so. It was provided by God. God created our world and what we needed to stay healthy and strong and have energy. Yet sin came in, and the world has been suffering ever since. But still, the crucial and essential ingredients for good nutrition remain here and accessible for us if we make the right choices. Some people think it's hard to make the right choices, but I don't think it is. We live in an abundance of abundant supply of good food. Our bodies get the ingredients they need from the food we eat. Digestion starts in the mouth, it continues in the stomach, then the the small and large bowel, and continues on into the colon. The nutrients that our bodies need most are these basic groupings. Carbohydrates, and you hear a lot about, oh, I'm on a low carbohydrate diet. Look what carbohydrates are. They're some of the most important food groups we have. The largest portion of our diet should actually come from these in as unrefined a form as possible. If you haven't done this before, try reading the ingredients, like I said, and it's astounding when you get store-bought cookies or whatever, even called healthy snacks. Sometimes it takes most of the page to tell you what's inside. Whole grains are among the carbohydrates, really, really, really important. Legumes, as I said, beans, peas, and lentils, fruits and vegetables are rich in carbohydrates. Sugar is another form of carbohydrate, but in large quantities, we all know it is very detrimental and can cause a lot of inflammation in our bodies. Proteins, every cell in our body has protein. It is for tissue repair and growth. Our bodies need protein. While almost all foods contain some proteins, did you know that potatoes have protein in them? For instance, particularly good sources of proteins are in legumes, nuts, and whole grains. Milk, eggs, and other animal products are also rich in protein, but they also contain unhealthy fats and have no dietary fiber at all. Fats we need to break down our fat-soluble vitamins, and these are concentrated sources of energy. And we do need some fat in our diet. We can get it through natural sources like avocados and coconut. Fats add flavor and texture to our food, and they also help us be satisfied after a meal. We often get too much fat in our diet because we like the flavor it imparts, but it doesn't make us feel good if we have too much. Okay, next is the vitamins. We have fat-soluble vitamins and water-soluble vitamins. Minerals, trace minerals, which we really need. They're very needed, but we take those in small doses. Or they come in small packages. And antioxidants and photochemicals, these can protect our bodies from disease and some of the effects of aging. They are found exclusively in whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and nuts. So that is why one of the most important keys for good health is eating a balanced plant-based diet and selecting a variety of food whose color, texture, and flavor add interest to the diet. In fact, when you look at a plate of food, it should have different colors and textures. And the more colorful it is, the healthier it is. These foods are the best when consumed as they come from nature. Whole foods should be used as much as possible. I want to read you something in this book. It says, in the past, the United States Department of Agriculture guideline says, use plant foods as the foundation of your meals. Eating a variety of grains, especially whole grains, fruits and vegetables is the basis of healthy eating. And I'll tell you, when you eat whole foods, you are much more satisfied for longer. You don't get hungry as quickly, and you feel better. This recommendation has been simplified in the 2010 Dietary Guidelines for Americans to make half your plate fruits and vegetables. That is from the source that we often look to see what we require. A healthful diet can increase our lifespan. Can you think of some foods that you've been eating that aren't very healthful? Or maybe something you should be eating? How many of you are willing, by God's grace, to make better choices in what you eat? I can promise you, you will feel better and you will also look better. And I can tell you one thing that has encouraged me, you can change your taste. I used to have a real problem with desserts and sugar. I loved desserts, and I still enjoy them sometimes. But I can't eat nearly what I could before. I mean, I don't try to eat more, but it's too sweet. So your taste does change. So I encourage you to embrace a whole food diet as much as possible. If you want to fight all of those illnesses, cancer, diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, try to eat the healthiest food available in your neighborhood, and you will reap the rewards.